This morning we're going to direct this to Robert Mueller and the little gang of butt wipes, the ass wipes, that are pushing for more and more investigation into this nonsense about Russia. Robert Mueller's an asswipe. Now, Donald Trump and Hillary and Bill Clinton and George Bush, Sr. and Jr., and this whole little gang of freakazoid assholes that have been distracting the nation with their never-ending bullshit. The reason they keep distracting this country with, oh, we're putting little kids in cages. Oh, the Russians helped swing the elections against Hillary. Oh, the Russians did this. And the Mexicans are doing that. And build the wall. Let's talk about the triad in Houston, Texas, Donald Trump. Let's talk about the private little black operations wars of George Bush and Joanna King and Jimmy Baker III, the Secretary of State, and that little gang called Triad in Houston with Oliver North, the director of the National Rifle Association. Are you freaking kidding me? Oliver North at freaking NRA? Come on, ladies and gentlemen, give me a break. He was in bed up to his eyeballs with Khashoggi, Ghebbanifar, and the Bin Ladens. How about that, Oliver North? You were doing business with Osama Bin Laden's family, weren't you, pal? Right there in old uptown Houston, out of the Galleria and the Houstonian Estates. Now, I know that's a lot in 2 minutes for anyone to absorb. But the Houston Chronicle, Lacey Olson, you're up to bat, sugar pie. It's time to talk about the Triad out of Salt Lake City, the Deseret News and the Salt Lake Tribune there, whatever it is, Salt Lake News there, the LDS Mormon Church. Let's talk about this Adnan Khashoggi clown and the Triad with Ghebbanifar and, oh, I don't know, let's see, Michael Adkinson, old Mike Adkinson, and we can talk about Robert Corson and George Mishner. Let's not leave George Mishner out of this. And, you can go into all kinds of family names in Houston, Texas that were running secret private wars with Bill and Hillary Clinton involved. How about that, Hillary? Isn't that something? Sort of like when you destroyed all that subpoenaed evidence, all the emails and communications and the servers and all those devices that were under subpoena that you destroyed. It's not a matter of if Hillary Clinton's guilty, Donald Trump is. You got to scratch your head and ask yourself, did this recuse Jeff Sessions? What's the setup, Donald Trump? Why are we protecting Hillary? Are we protecting Hillary because we've got this never-ending flood of money, this never-ending tidal wave and tsunami of money controlling politics and controlling the discussion in America? Yeah. Controlling the discussion in America with endless rivers of printed right out of the thin air, right out of nothing. They're running the entire show, the entire dog and pony, smoke and mirrors show with reserve notes and that crap that they mark up on the accounts over at the New York Federal Reserve Bank. Correct, Timothy Geithner? Elliot Spitzer, you want to chime in here, you sorry sack of trash? Elliot Spitzer, you're a lowlife. And so is it Sessions. And this Christopher Wray at FBI, what a damn joke. What an absolute joke. And to the Bundys, and to the Finicums, and to the Hammonds. Let's talk about all this phony baloney money for a second. Let's talk about how massive rivers of money are controlling the discussion in America. How these corporate little whores and pimps sit there in their fancy little duds And they endlessly blah, 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 blah on all the news channels about what they want to talk about. They control the discussion. Never ending, financed and fueled by huge amounts of right out of nothing and keystroked into existence, phony, baloney money. And if you think I'm off my rocker here, why don't you get a hold of David Stockman and ask him what phony, baloney money is? Or, I don't know, get a hold of Dylan Radigan. Ask him what phony, baloney, fiat, printed up out of nothing money is. You know, folks, you've got this scenario in the United States called Citizens United, where they can flood the system with vast amounts of rivers of tsunamis of made from nothing cash. The billionaires who exist on this phony baloney money system, like Donald Trump and all of his little paid for, bought and owned minions. How about that, Donald Trump? How much money are you giving to these people that are going around, threatening people if they speak up against you? How much money are you dumping into these gangs of thugs that are going around distracting everybody? I got a question for you, Donald Trump, and particularly for the Attorney General and the Justice Department of the United States. What in the flying hell is Hillary Clinton doing walking free? All that stuff was under subpoena, Mike Pence. It was under subpoena, Pence. And then she destroyed it. That's a little bit of a criminal act, wouldn't you say so, Mr. Jeff Sessions? And Mueller and Comey? What a joke, man. Those guys are bought and paid for by HSBC Bank and UBS. Both of them are just bank assets of that printed out of nothing, marked up on the freaking computer console, phony baloney money system. Isn't this correct, Mr. Jimmy Comey? And for the FBI, because, I know they love me. The FBI, let's talk about that triad in Harrison, Montgomery County, Texas. The triad. Joanna Herring King, James Baker III, Congressman Charlie Wilson, the Mujahideen, the Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, Ronald Reagan, George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., the Clintons, the triad. Salt Lake City, Houston, Texas. Hey, if you got any questions, get a hold of Lacey Olson over there at the Big Whore, the Houston Chronicle. She'll tell you all about the triad. And you can call up Peter Bruton, old Pete Bruton, the mafia, the CIA, and everything else he didn't tell you. Right, Pete Bruton? Aw, man, come on, Pete. You left the whole triad out of the story, man. And all those funny real estate schemes and scams all the way across the U.S.-Mexican border. From the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific coast. All the way across the U.S.-Mexican border. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of bullshit, totally illegal, unrecorded, secret, black operations, land developments. Black operations, land developments, just like all over Texas. All those unrecorded, phantom ghost, paper, just existed on paper, wildcat, red flag, illegal land developments all over the United States. Isn't that interesting? From the Carolinas and Florida to, Utah was man, Utah's full of them. Utah is full of these illegal land developments. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how they control politics in America. The big gangster, bankster, mobsters, and all of this stolen money. This phony, baloney, stolen money garbage. And then they control the corporate news discussion. They control the corporate news corporations. They control the television news outlets. They control the newspaper news outlets. They control Google and Facebook. Hell, they even control YouTube. Yep. Now, folks, you know, I've been working at this for over 35 years. And I'm going to end this one up here. I can say a whole lot more. I can go on for weeks about how this system is rigged. Hey, everything's rigged, everybody. Everything's rigged. It's a great big party, and you're not invited. And they're paying for it with the marked up keystroked into existence out of the thin air, phony baloney money bullshit. And that's what it is. It's phony baloney money bullshit. Donald Trump, old pal, let's ask Robert Mueller why isn't he hiring a whole bunch of prosecutors and investigating the massive banking swindle and the massive banking robberies of the United States. Why aren't we going after all those real estate developers and title insurance companies and escrow agents and these make them up as they go along phony baloney document companies? You know, it wasn't just Select Portfolio Services. It wasn't just Loan Portfolio Services. It wasn't just those title companies. Did he say real estate title companies and abstract companies? And if you have any questions, get a hold of Mark Turnbull, the Montgomery County Recorder of Deeds, and Jeff Thigpen. Jeff Thigpen from North Carolina. Get a hold of Jeff Thigpen and, oh man, I can't remember that guy up in Connecticut there. That's all right, we'll move on. John O'Quinn or something like that. John Quinn up there, the Recorder of Deeds up in the northeastern corner of the country that exposed all the millions and millions of false real estate documents in Connecticut, I think he's from. John O'Brien, there we go. John O'Brien, the old brain kicked in. Old John O'Brien. Get a hold of John O'Brien and ask him about all those phony baloney deed records like up in Washington State. And then get a hold of the shirt lift and swallow